I've always been a planner. Finances, career, even vacations, all mapped down to the last detail. So when I married Marissa, I thought I'd finally found someone who valued structure like I did. We'd been together 8 years, 3 dating, 5 married, and for most of that time, our future felt like a shared project. We'd even drawn up our 5-year plan on a napkin at a bar, pay off our student loans, save for a down payment, buy a house, then start trying for kids. Every goal we hit early. It felt like we were running ahead of life's schedule. 3 months ago, we closed on our first home, a modest 2-story place on a quiet street. I spent weekends assembling nursery furniture, not because we were expecting, but because that was the next chapter. That was the dream. One night, standing in the freshly painted room, I smiled and said, 2 years from now, this place won't be quiet. Marissa laughed softly, or at least I thought she did. Then came the night that changed everything. We were eating dinner, pasta, candles, just another Tuesday. I was rambling about turning the office into a playroom. That's when she put her fork down and looked me dead in the eye. I'm not having kids, Liam. I've scheduled the surgery for next month. It's done. At first I thought she was joking. Then I realized she wasn't. My fork hovered midair. The silence was deafening. Every dream, every plan gone in an instant. I said the only thing that came to mind. Okay, her eyebrows rose. Okay, that's all you have to say. It's your body, Marissa. Your choice. She smiled in relief, that smug sort of satisfaction people get when they think they've won an argument you never agreed to have. She said something about freedom, about travel, about living without responsibilities. I nodded, finished my dinner, and watched the person I thought I knew dissolve into a stranger. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because she didn't want kids. People change. But because she'd let me plan, spend, dream, and build for a future she never intended to live. That wasn't a change of heart. That was betrayal, slow and deliberate. The next morning while she was at yoga, I called a lawyer. By the time she came home, I'd packed my essentials and moved my half of our savings into a new account. She walked in, smiling from class, then froze at the sight of the folder in my hand. What's that? Divorce papers, I said. Our plan ended, so do we. Her expression shattered. You're ending our marriage over kids? No, I said quietly. I'm ending it because you already did. Marissa's calm cracked the moment I said divorce. Her voice rose, accusing me of being dramatic, heartless, impulsive. You can't just throw away a marriage because I don't want to be a mother. I didn't argue. There was no point. This wasn't about a disagreement. It was about deception. She didn't just change her mind. She let me build a dream she'd already decided to burn. That's not partnership. That's fraud. I moved out the next day. My lawyer said it should be a clean split. No kids. Separate finances. Simple division of property. I agreed. The only thing I refused to leave behind was my art cabinet. A large wooden chest with dozens of shallow drawers I'd built by hand. My grandfather was a woodworker. I was a boy. He gave me a small box with a secret latch and his old carving tools inside. My plan had been to one day build something similar for my own child. The cabinet wasn't just furniture. It was a legacy in waiting. Marissa knew that. She used to roll her eyes when I worked on it, calling it that clunky thing. But now suddenly, she wanted it declared a marital asset. It's part of the household, her lawyer argued. We had receipts, photos, proof that I'd built it years before our marriage. It wasn't about the cabinet. She just wanted control, and losing it made her furious. Her family wasn't much better. Parents called to lecture me, as if I'd committed a crime. Liam, she made a choice about her own body, her mother snapped. You're punishing her for that? I'm not punishing her, I replied. I'm accepting it, making my own choice too. The only person who didn't attack me was Clara, Marissa's younger sister. She called me a week after the split. I'm so sorry, Liam, she said softly. She's been talking about not wanting kids for almost a year. I told her she needed to talk to you. I never thought she'd ambush you like that. Something inside me cracked then, not from pain, but from relief. Someone understood. We talked for hours, mostly about nothing. Art, travel, music. She didn't judge me or defend Marissa. She just listened. Started small, a few texts here and there, then late-night phone calls that stretched into dawn. Clara was calm, where Marissa was chaos. Thoughtful, where her sister was impulsive. One day, she mentioned the art cabinet. You built that yourself? She asked. What kind of wood did you use? Nobody had ever asked me that before. When we met for coffee a few weeks later, it wasn't a date, at least that's what we told ourselves. But sitting across from her, I realized something. I wasn't mourning my marriage anymore. I was mourning the illusion of one. And in its place, something new, fragile, unexpected, was beginning to take root. It didn't take long for Marissa to find out Clara and I had met for coffee. I don't know how, maybe she stalked her sister's social media, but the fallout was immediate. My phone exploded with messages. 37 in total. Accusations, threats, paragraphs of pure fury. "So this was your plan all along?" she wrote. "You'd leave me, then run straight to my sister?" Pathetic, I didn't reply. My lawyer had already warned me. Silence was power. Still, her words lingered like smoke, toxic, impossible to ignore. Clara called later that night, her voice trembling. "She knows, doesn't she?" I said quietly. "She's furious." There was a pause. Then softly, "I'm not going to stop talking to you." That one sentence hit me harder than I expected. She didn't owe me loyalty, but she gave it anyway. The next few weeks were chaos. Marissa's lawyer tried every trick to delay the divorce emotional distress claims. Alimony requests, even suggesting my departure, had caused her professional paralysis. It was laughable but exhausting. In the middle of that storm, Clara became my calm. We spoke every night, not about Marissa, but about life. She told me about her freelance design work, her love for architecture, her dream to travel to Lisbon one day. It was strange how natural it felt. There was no guilt, just a quiet understanding between two people trying to heal. Then came the day I won the battle for the art cabinet. Marissa had called it a worthless block of wood during our marriage. Now she claimed it was a shared artistic investment. My lawyer presented dated photos of me building it years before our wedding. Case closed. When the ruling came through, I felt relief, but also pity. Out for her, but for the version of her I used to believe in. That night, I sent Clara a photo of the cabinet sitting in my new condo. She replied with a heart emoji and wrote, "It looks like it finally belongs somewhere peaceful." A few days later, we met again. No plans, no labels, just two people orbiting the same grief. She told me her parents were furious. They blamed her for taking my side. Her father even called, demanding she'd stop speaking to me. "What did you say?" I asked. Clara smiled sadly. I told him I'm not responsible for cleaning up Marissa's mess. That's when I realized the line had already been crossed. Maybe we hadn't kissed yet, but emotionally, we were already in too deep. And for the first time since the night everything fell apart, I didn't feel broken. I felt alive. The divorce dragged on for months, but emotionally, it was over long before the paperwork caught up. My world shrank to two things: rebuilding my life and the quiet connection growing between me and Clara. It started with coffee, then lunches, then nights spent talking until sunrise. There was never a defining moment, no grand confession, no impulsive kiss. It was slower, gentler. It's like two survivors comparing scars after the same wreck. Clara was different from her sister in every way that mattered. Where Marissa craved control, Clara valued honesty. And where Marissa dismissed my dreams, Clara asked about them. She didn't just nod politely when I talked about woodworking. She wanted to understand it. One evening, I showed her a picture of the art cabinet, explaining the hidden compartment at its base. "My grandfather built one like it," I said. "He hid his tools inside and told me to pass them down someday." Clara's eyes softened. "Then someday you should." That was the first time anyone had said the word someday to me without it sounding like an insult. Weeks passed. The legal mess thinned out. Marissa's claims collapsed after her own social media showed her vacationing in Bali, not exactly the behavior of someone emotionally devastated. My lawyer called it poetic justice. I called it closure. The day the divorce was finalized, I felt strangely weightless. No victory, no sadness, just quiet clarity. I texted Clara, "It's done." Her reply came a minute later, "Then come over. You don't need to be alone tonight." When I arrived, she'd made dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta and wine. We sat on her balcony under string lights, the city humming softly below. At one point, she looked at me and said, "You don't have to apologize for finding peace. That was the night we crossed the invisible line. It's no guilt, no confusion. Just warmth, a connection that felt right in every possible way. We didn't announce it, we didn't flaunt it. But somehow, word got out. Marissa's fury reached new heights. She called Clara every name imaginable. accused her of betrayal, even told their parents I'd been cheating all along. Clara's parents disowned her, told her she was dead to them for choosing me. She cried for days. I held her through every tremor of guilt and grief, reminding her that she hadn't broken anything, she'd simply stopped pretending. When the tears finally dried, she looked at me and whispered, "It feels like I lost everything." I brushed a strand of hair from her face, and let's build something new. That night we made a promise to never live by someone else's version of happiness again. We didn't know it then, but that decision would lead to the most unexpected twist of all. For months after the divorce was finalized, life finally felt still. My condo was smaller, but it was mine, clean, quiet, untouched by old arguments. The art cabinet stood in the living room, sunlight catching the grain just right. Clara started spending more nights there, first a weekend, then most of the week. Before long, she had a toothbrush in my bathroom and her sketches on my coffee table. It wasn't planned, it just happened naturally. We were careful at first, avoiding public scenes or family gatherings. But secrets never stay buried long, and when Marissa found out, she detonated like a grenade. "She's always wanted my life," she screamed on the phone. "She waited for me to fail so you could replace me." Her parents didn't even call me. They called Clara. Her mother's voice was ice. "You've disgraced this family. You'll never be welcome in this house again." Clara tried to be strong, but the pain cut deep. I saw it in the way she stopped answering calls, how she'd flinch whenever her phone buzzed. I held her through it, whispering, "They'll see the truth one day." But Marissa wasn't done. She found out Clara had landed a big freelance design project with a beverage company, a career-defining contract. And out of spite, she tried to ruin it. Using an anonymous email, Marissa sent the company's project manager a long list of fabricated claims that Clara was unstable. It's unprofessional, a home wrecker. She signed it "a concerned friend." The attempt backfired spectacularly. The project manager, a woman who'd been through a nasty divorce herself, saw right through it. She forwarded the email to Clara, writing, "Just thought you should know who you're dealing with. Also, we're extending your contract." That moment changed everything. Clara didn't cry. She smiled, not out of glee, but out of strength. "She tried to destroy me," she said, "and all she did was help me grow." A month later, we flew to the coast. No guests, no family, just us and a witness from a small surf shop who agreed to sign the papers. The wind was cold, the waves relentless, and when Clara said "I do," it felt like the noise of the world faded. We were married quietly, without fanfare, no white dress, no vows read before crowds. Just honesty, peace, us. That night, sitting on the sand, Clara whispered, "Do you think it's wrong to be happy when so many people want you to regret it?" I kissed her hand. "It's not wrong. It's rare." We flew home the next morning as husband and wife. The headlines in Marissa's family group chats probably wrote themselves, but we didn't care. We had a new life, a dog, a home, and soon, something more. Because 2 months later, Clara handed me a small white stick with trembling hands. 2 lines. I just stared at it, then at her. "Liam," she whispered, "we're going to have a baby." We kept the pregnancy quiet for months, not out of fear, but out of peace. The world had already judged us once. This time, we wanted to experience joy without the noise. But news has a way of finding its stage. When Clara's grandmother, the matriarch of the family, announced a mandatory Christmas Eve gathering, we both knew what it meant. Reconciliation theater. Attendance wasn't optional. Clara hesitated. "It'll be a war zone." I took her hand. Then we walk in together. No shame, no hiding. The evening felt like stepping into a freezer. Her parents offered tight smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Marissa was there too, radiant in appearance, hollow in spirit. She laughed too loudly, gestured too broadly, performing happiness for whoever would watch. For the first hour, we kept to ourselves, chatting with distant cousins and avoiding confrontation. Then came the gift exchange. We'd prepared something simple, a small silver photo frame wrapped in gold paper, labeled for Mom and Dad. When Clara handed it over, her mother opened it with visible reluctance. Inside was the frame, engraved with elegant script. "Coming June 2026. Her mother frowned. "What's this supposed to?" She stopped. Inside the frame was a black and white ultrasound photo. Her father's expression froze. "You're expecting?" he whispered. Across the room, the laughter died. Marissa turned sharply. "What did you say?" she stormed over, peering into the frame and saw it. Her entire body stiffened. The color drained from her face. "You're pregnant?" Clara placed a gentle hand over her stomach, her voice calm but firm. "Yes. We're married. We're having a baby." The silence cracked like glass. Then came the scream, raw, guttural, wounded. "You stole my life," Marissa shrieked. "My husband, my future. You planned this." Everyone froze. Clara's parents stared between their daughters, torn between disbelief and shame. I stepped forward, my voice steady. "No one stole anything, Marissa. You threw it away. You had everything, love. A home, a future. And you set it on fire because you wanted freedom. We just built something out of the ashes." Her father's eyes fell on the ultrasound photo again. I could see the realization dawning. Their first grandchild wasn't coming from the daughter they protected, but from the one they cast out. Marissa broke down completely, crying, shouting, repeating, "That was supposed to be me." But it was too late. The path she abandoned had found new travelers. Clara squeezed my hand. "Let's go." We walked out into the cold night, the door closing behind us with finality. In the car, she let out a shaky breath. "I feel free." When we got home, I opened the art cabinet, the same one that had started it all. Inside the hidden compartment were my grandfather's tools. I showed her the latch, smiling through the emotion in my throat. "One day," I said softly, "our child will learn to open this too." She leaned her head on my shoulder, and I guess the plan worked out after all. Not the one drawn on a napkin years ago, but the one life quietly rewrote for me. And for the first time in years, I wasn't just following a plan, I was living it. If you've made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.